Good morning, Waller Group agents. I hope everyone had a productive and fantastic weekend. If it was half as productive as mine, then you're going to be writing offers and taking listings this week. I wanted to first thank everyone that did attend the REI Real Estate Investor Conference with me. Kathy did a fantastic job on two different topics that she discussed. One on prospecting that was very good. It was very motivating and informative. I even learned a lot. So I think it's great when we all share like that. And she probably she must have had 400, 500 contacts just over this last weekend. Watching her in action was fun. And then I also want to give kudos to Amanda and Angela and Rupal for attending the REI conference as well. Appreciate that. Hopefully you learned a few things as well on some of those meetings. And then also wanted to thank Nina and Claudia for referring two agents to our brokerage that came on board last week, both from Keller Williams, two different Keller Williams offices. So if they experience near the success that Amanda has from Keller Williams, then they'll be in fantastic shape. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get to our KDNA numbers. I spent a little bit more time, and this is something that I want you to be really mindful of, is that the value of the KDNA streaming broadcast is really dependent on what you put in each week and your coaching calls with Richard to make sure that he can identify what you're saying when you're making contacts, the appointments that you're going on, what are those leading to, what are the challenges and the objections, what are the weekly wins that you're having within each of these KDNA metrics. So I'm going to try to do a better job of explaining that each week and giving testimonials and stories of what our top producers and what the agents are doing. So let's start with hours of training. Reginald was in 2 hours of training last week. And Reginald, if you'll let us know what that training is and what the benefits to you were from that training, that would be helpful for us to share with others. Amanda was in 6 hours of training last week. Great job, Amanda. And then Barbara Chapin, 2 hours, Rupal, 3 hours, and Annette, 3 hours. And then hours script practice. I think Amanda has probably been our shining star on hours script practice. She spent 5 hours of script practice last week, and she has 4 different role play partners. So when you have role play partners, then that number one makes you accountable to yourself and to the accountability partner, role play partner. And you also learn best practices, what they're doing across the nation. So these role play partners that she met at the Mike Ferry conference, and that's one of the great things about attending those conferences. You meet other people that are like-minded where you can mind share information. And so those role play partners for her around the country have helped. She's also role playing with Rupal here in our brokerage. So I encourage you to pair up with each other as well if you don't know someone in another market. But there's lots of forums on LinkedIn. There's lots of forums for you to meet other people like-minded around the nation. And sometimes people in other markets are more willing to share than local people. And most top producers I've found have been very, very helpful and willing to share when they're in other markets. But connecting with them first at a conference, my experience has been very helpful, because then you have a personal connection with them and it's easier for them to pick up the phone, and they're more willing to share when you have questions down the road. For me and my business, that made a huge, huge difference in my business. So kudos to Amanda on those role play partners. Hours contacted. Reginald had 20 hours contacted last week that he was prospecting, making contacts. So we know the sphere of influence contacts, those are the most profitable contacts. And around just listed and just sold properties, those don't have to be just your just listed, just sold properties. They can be any just listed, just sold properties. That adds credibility when you're talking to people in those neighborhoods, and when you can speak with intelligence of other properties that are selling or listing, then that's one of the reasons the stats are usually pretty good on prospecting around just listed, just sold. And of course, if they're in your geo farm. So that's important to your methodology, is making sure those are in your geo farm. Some large teams have ISAs that prospect, and they prospect around all their just listed, just sold, not just their geo farm. So there's several different ways to approach that. Amanda spent 14 hours. Great job, Amanda. Barbara, 11 hours. Rupal, 2 hours. And Corey, 5 hours on making contacts. So, and then metric number 4, as far as the flyers or postcards that have been distributed, something else that you could think about is your Facebook engagements. How many people, how many engagements do you create on Facebook or social media, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook? Instagram has been one of the, I think it creates 4 times more engagement, if I remember right, the last stat that I looked at, than Facebook. So Instagram is generating the most traction and engagement. People spend more time looking at what's on Instagram, so be mindful of that. Jill last week had 19 people that were 19, looks like 19 hours, sorry. Wes had 1,530 postcards that went out. So one of the great things about Wes's postcards is that he is reiterating his credibility in the area, showing how he had the highest average sales price in the area, or what has he done that adds credibility to him and also creates value for that homeowner if they're thinking about selling. And the other thing that Wes has been doing is also door knocking, and I spent some time with him last week on his for sale by owners. So the numbers on his for sale by owners and those door knocking, it takes consistency, but it really pays off. The other thing that Wes is doing, which I thought was a really good idea, is he's putting prospective sellers, he's registering himself and putting the seller's information in on conversion, because keep in mind, conversion will send them a handwritten note card. So it takes you about 10 seconds and they automatically get a handwritten note card from conversion. So that was smart. Good thinking on Wes's behalf. And then he also has been using Andy Weiss for decluttering. Andy charges, I think it's $225 depending on the house to declutter it. Andy's with Armstrong Moving, and that's very impressive when you have Andy go in and help them with that service. So Andy's very, very helpful, and I would suggest that on properties probably that are 400,000 or plus, where Armstrong may be a preferred moving candidate for them. He also had 2 offers on a property through prospecting that he got, and within 20 hours had a full price contract. Great job. That was on Silas Court. And the way he got that Silas Court listing was from a call-in, a sign call on another listing of his in the neighborhood. So this shows the power of geofarming, of how when you have presence in the neighborhood, then you already have credibility with those neighbors. And then there's nothing that's more credible than another listing that's selling. So when you have, and he was competing with, I think it was an EBI agent on that, and they liked the Waller Group CMA form better. The numbers were better presented, easier to understand, and he used the analysis, the 1-page analysis, along with the full CMA, and showing those comps and those adjustments is something that one of the many things that the other agent had not done. So that was really very helpful, and I appreciate that feedback, Wes. So moving along, it looks like in hours previewed, Reginald spent 9 hours previewing last week, Tammy 11 hours previewing, Amanda 5 hours previewing. Amanda has 4 investors she's working with. So sometimes when you have multiple buyers, they're looking for the same property, it makes your previewing a little bit more efficient. So I don't know if that's the case in Amanda's or not, but sometimes it is. Anaid 3 hours previewing, and Jill 4 hours previewing. So keep in mind, the most value that you generally get in previewing is previewing competing listing inventory on any prospective listing appointments that you're going in, especially your geofarm. You want to know about everything in your geofarm, because for you to have the confidence to talk intelligently with any buyer or seller or prospect in your area, you have to see the inventory and know all of the inventory that's in your geographic area. Whether it's Facebook groups, whether it's for sale by owners, any other ways that people are putting inventory out there, or coming soon inventory, even real estate brokerages. There'll be a lot of times there's a sign in the yard that's coming soon, but yet it won't be in the MLS. So if you know your market, you're going to be driving those streets and you'll know about those properties that are coming up. Open house. We had some good successes at open house. Looks like Reginald had an open house, and I think he had multiple offers on his listing, and he now has a contract on it. Wes had an open house, and it looks like Wes, the Waller Group open house FSBO program is something that I would be doing every other week in your geo farm. If even if there's not FSBOs, but approaching other agents that have open house, that have listings, whether they're aged listings or new listings, but having open houses in your geo farm creates a lot of credibility because they see your sign. They see your sign on the weekends, those directional signs. And think about it, guys, a postcard, you're spending 50, 60 cents to get an impression, to get eyeballs in front of someone, where those open house signs on the weekends are for free. So you can have an open house for free. You can also collect more buyers for your I Have a Buyer flyer and marketing in the neighborhood. You have one open house. The numbers I've been seeing at these open houses looks like between, I think it's Sarah and Jill, some of the open house numbers from last week, which January is usually not a big open house week, but 19 families, one person had come through, another one had 20 people come through. So guys, these are decent numbers. That tells me that there's not that many open houses out there. So just like listing inventory, there's very little listing inventory right now. There's very few open houses on the weekends. So if you're the exception, then the traffic, if it's decent weather, usually that makes a difference, but the traffic is there. So take advantage of it. You just need to go harvest the fields. It's there. Nina worked the FSBO program, I think it was last week, and one of the for sale by owners that she previewed was a financial planner, and the property was under contract, but he has a lot of other prospects, and they created a relationship there, so there's a lot of other business to be had that she's going to be following up with. So you can have seminars with financial planners for investment properties. There's a lot of different angles there. Financial planners are a wealth of information. So kudos to Nina for doing that. And it goes to show the value of these for sale by owners. For sale by owners know so many other people that are buying. They know other people that are selling. They lead to additional transactions. So don't just be focused on that listing. In fact, I would encourage you just to be focused on helping that for sale by owner, and that it will lead to other things, just like in this situation with Nina. Parm also posted on his top producer from December, top producer on Facebook, and he picked up a buyer. So that top producer Facebook posting, showing that photo of his top producer award on Facebook, that generated credibility. That credibility generated a referral and a buyer. So keep that in mind. Claudia, this is week before last because I didn't report each other's numbers. Shame on me last week. But Claudia, week before last, put out 150 just sold flyers, and she has a buyer appointment and a listing appointment. So I don't know if those came from those flyers or not. Usually you have to put out, as when we're looking at direct mail and geo farming, then you've got to generally figure 2,000 to 3,000 of these direct mail pieces or flyers a month before you can expect 2 listings. So this varies, and if you get, you put out a couple hundred flyers and you get a listing call, then consider that getting lucky, because that's not normal. Normally your expectations need to be 2,000 to 3,000 postcards or direct mail pieces a month, and that has to be sent consistently. So a stat that I think Kathy gave yesterday in the class at the REI, she said if it's the same template, which that's one of the reasons we have company approved templates, you can change out the wording, the address, but keep the template the same. That statistically, people that receive the same template, only I think it was 8 a year, their perception was, 6 a year, Brian corrected me, thank you, 6 a year, their impression was, their perception that they're getting it every month. So think about that. It shows you the power of consistency, that in people's minds, you're still taking up enough mind space, and that's what it's about, is taking up space in their mind where they think of you, to where it was a once a month impression for half the price, basically, when they're doing it half the time, every other month. So keep that in mind. A lot of large teams and a lot of other brokerages that I talk to, they front load their marketing to where they don't do as much marketing in November, December, January, but then in February and March, they really pour it on, because they know that's when the listing season is coming, and you want to really harvest your efforts from the marketing that you've done in January, February, March, this is the time to be doing that, to be dripping on them, because you'll start seeing more results in late March, early April. Okay. Hours previewing, we went over that. New prospects. Tammy had 7 new prospects, Barbara 5 new prospects, Corey 8 new prospects, and those new prospects, a lot of those were buyers, it looks like. And then number of new buyer rep agreements, Reginald 1, and Tammy had 2, and Barbara 1. Good job there. And number of pre-listing appointments, it looks like Tammy had 2, and also Tammy put 2 in contract in escrow last week, so good job. Jill also had a pre-listing appointment. So one of the reasons we want to know how many pre-listing appointments you're going on to per listing appointment is we want to know how strong you are with that Waller Group seller appointment form, because that Waller Group seller appointment for the first question that's in there, if you're asking that, then a lot of times you're going to eliminate that listing appointment, or maybe they're going to reschedule for a later date because you're going to flush out objections. If you don't ask that first question on the Waller Group seller appointment form, then you could very well be setting yourself up for failure when you go out on that listing by being unprepared. Because that first question, when I come out to meet with you tomorrow at 4 o'clock, are you comfortable moving forward with the listing agreement? Then you'll flush out, as I've told you many times, lots of objections, and there's thousands of objections that can come up. So without asking that question, you won't be able to flush those out. And a lot of the objections require some homework, maybe pulling stats on your competitor, or maybe making sure the wife is present, or maybe they're worried it's going to sell too soon. And so I actually had that happen one time. I lost a listing because they were worried we were going to sell it too soon. So you never know what people are going to say. Listing appointments held. So NA, good job. Listing appointment last week, and so did Jill Bell. So there's a few other things I want to go over. Is I was looking at the numbers of commissions closed from some of our top producers from less than a month. This is from December 28th. So we're right at almost a month. And it looks like if you annualize these numbers, for example, Kathy Crow, based on her commissions for just in the last, not even 30 days, $230,000 in gross commission. Wes, just there again, this is just in the last 30 days, not even 30 days of commissions. Wes, $23,500 closed. That's $282,000 in annualized commissions. And keep in mind, December or the end of December, early January is usually one of the slowest months in the year. So these could be $400,000, $500,000 commission years for these guys. So those are some good numbers. Angela Cressini, great job, almost $10,000 in closed commission in the last few weeks. Corey, good job with Corey too. So you guys have some strong numbers to be closing in January for January sales. So I think that's probably a result of, like we mentioned in the sales meeting, pending sales being up 24% for December. Then we're seeing that now in January closings. So good job working your leads. Property management, just a reminder, the 50% referral fee that we pay for property management, that's paid out. We do the same as One Prop. They're the most generous with their referral fees, so we match that. That's paid out. Part of it is on the front end when the property leases, and then the other part when the tenant renews their lease in 12 months. So it's not all paid out at the beginning. That's the point of clarification, but it's a 50% referral fee on the rent. And then pipeline leads, we had 99 leads last week, the most leads we've ever had. And here it is in mid-January for pipeline referrals. That's great. 11 leads over $120,000. And I think Jill had also, maybe it was Sarah, had gone out on a listing appointment last week. Oh yeah, Sarah, from a pipeline referral. That was one of her listing appointments. So good job, Sarah. And I think Nina has had 1 or 2 pipeline referral. Are they move-up buyers? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So Nina's here. I appreciate that. Venus, one of our new agents, is here. Came over from Keller Williams. And so we appreciate that. It always makes it more fun when there's someone in the audience. Nina, do you have anything else to echo, or as far as your numbers for last week and some successes that you had on the KDNA or contacts?
I actually linked
Good.
So I just called them off of one of those, and so I put this appointment with one of the leads there, and then we did another one last week. So I just been thinking of
Right.
because anybody.
Right.
And then from my mind, the provider actually has referred me to their,
Good.
so it's their house. So
Great.
kind of like.
And that's one of the value in relocation or the referral network is that anytime you, and this goes for any referral, when you have a referral, sometimes no one likes to pay the referral fees on relocation on referral network, but generally it should, if you're doing a good job, lead to 2 additional transactions. Here, Nina hasn't even closed this person and they've already sent a referral that's going to lead to a listing. So this is one of the great things about real estate is it's such a referral-based business that's the way you can grow your business, and Nina's doing a great job with that. Thanks for sharing that. That's good information. And another thing that Nina has learned and that she's, I think, I want to applaud her for is speaking to groups, just like she spoke to a group that she's in a few weeks ago. And that builds skills that you can take to a lot of other groups and offer home buyer seminars. And she's thinking in the right way of leveraging her time by speaking to groups and also working with networks and referral sources. So that is smart thinking to work with referral sources that come into contact with a lot of buyers and sellers. Kathy Crow is another person that does a great job with this. So think about that, whether they're CPAs, wealth planners, different networks and groups that you're in. So that's where you have to be diligent about there's a lot of power and focus on peeling that onion and thinking, how can I get in touch with more people? And if you think about it, and if you commit yourself to it, it will happen, and you'll find creative ways to find more buyers and sellers through different referrals and different networks. Great, thank you for sharing that. Brian, do you have anything to add today?
Hey guys, happy Monday morning. I just wanted to thank Logan and Kathy again, because I was able to attend the event and it was great to see Kathy speak, learned a lot. As far as the referral source, I mean, that room was packed. There were tons of contacts and people were just, well, basically dying to get in contact with Kathy and learn more information and do more business. So I highly recommend it. And
the majority of people there wanted to buy houses, and the majority, I was really surprised, the majority were not realtors. I thought there would be a lot of realtors, and the majority were also local to the Metroplex. So this was like a gold mine of referrals and buyers. So it's good. Thank you, Kathy, for teeing us up on that.
yeah, it was great. And I mean, just going to stuff like that and beginning to speak in front of people. Your first one, you may not knock it out of the park, but you know what, you're going to be better at your next one. Like I'm sure Nina can relate. Get it started, get it going. So next month will be better than the month before and so on. So that's my recommendation.
And Brian and our preferred vendors can help you with the formats. They can help you. So it helps, just like Kathy and I gave a class together. It helps to have someone else there to bounce off of each other. It
Right.
creates a little bit more energy. So
I'm happy to go. So
yeah, don't hesitate to do that.
thanks.
Thank you, guys. Have a productive and successful week.